bioprofessionals the needs of the ecosystem and what is really required in order to promote it. The issue of the issue of fundraising and the exposure of bio professionals and their innovation to the investors was always considered as a critical issue. Well, after we had a pitch night for bio startups 2 months ago, we're going to discuss the issue of effective pitching today. And this is an issue that, as a scientist, I can tell you, is not always recognized as a critical one by scientists who are actually on their fundraising journey.
Have already raised serious issues and flaws that should concern all New Yorkers. Because when there is a bias or a lack of
thanks, Lauren. So today in this meeting, in order to demonstrate the how and also the why, we are honored to host Ms. Helen Gottstein, who is an expert in the field of public speaking and business communications training, and also Mr. David Waimann, who I can say that based on his successful experience, knows a lot about fundraising and the need for effective pitching skills from the industry side and also from the investor side. So I would like to invite our first speaker, Mr. David Waimann, a venture partner at OurCrowd. Mr. Waimann, please.
So hello, good evening. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to only talk about the viewpoint from the investor. So, and I love this type of situation. I actually am usually on the other side of the table. I'm actually presenting to investors, but of course I do advise certain funds like OurCrowd, OSEG and IBEX and others. And these particular funds now want to see presentations of a certain type. And I'm going to go more for the content. Helen will concentrate more on the actual how you present it. I want to share with you 2 or 3 screens. So the first ones, I wanted to give you examples from healthcare startups, but I didn't get permission. So these are actually slides from some things that I did myself. And this is one particular slide. It's just a set of slides. And what I want to bring to you from these set of slides is that really there's not many words. Before I forget, I want to just differentiate between 2 sets of slides. There's one set of slides you send through the email to present yourself to investors. There's another set of slides which I call the Arba Enayim slides, where you really present in front of the investors. These ones are really for the ones when you present. The content itself is not so important, but I wanted to show you that the actual not much text. And here you passwords. Sorry, Joe. There's information here where basically every slide is telling and selling your story and is lively, full of images. So that is the one message here. And similarly, another set of slides which I'd like to actually show to you, and that is from another set which will give you a different perspective. This one's more technical. But again, you're seeing lively images, you're seeing graphs and numbers, and it's all mixed together with technology and production lines and all these types of things together, but done in a way which is attractive to the investor. The investor is brought in with lots of pretty pictures, and we expect high level of graphics now. If you are presenting now a bunch of slides which are dull and full of words, it's going to show that you don't know how to sell and market your product. It reflects on you as an actual person that you don't know how to do it. So this is the message I'm giving to you of these very general types of slides. But the last thing that I do want to present to you is more just a focus on really some other slides that I have, or really just one slide where I prepared for you today. And these are really special health tech features which are special to the health tech field, which are different to other areas. And you may actually dispute this, but I think that these are issues which are special to the healthcare. First one, the endorsements from experts in your field is particularly important. And this is not so difficult to do, but one of the problems that investors have is they invariably don't know the product that well, but if they do see that somebody is an expert in the field and likes your product and says, I'm willing to endorse this, or I am interested, that really helps. It shows that it's serious. Another thing is that particularly in healthcare, if you're making a type of device, make a graphic of it. Rather than just describe it. It doesn't cost that much. You can ask somebody to do it from anything from 400 to 1,000 shekels, do a graphic of how potentially it would look like, and also the user interface. In the first set of slides, I show you what an interface is. I didn't actually point that out, but how does actually somebody interface with your particular healthcare product? Something different in your field which is worthwhile discussing, is development, regulatory, and testing processes and the times and costs. These are very particular to the healthcare area. It can be done in 1 or 2 slides, but it needs to be understood that you've really understood the whole process of taking this to market, how much it will cost, and the time of it. And usually use a timeline type of graph. And this is important because without that, the investor hasn't got a clear idea of his risks and the amount of money that he has to put out. Don't be worried about telling the whole truth. Quite often, there is an issue of milestones, and healthcare investors are willing to fund something which is not bringing in revenues, but already has very strong proof of market. Now, here's a trick which I want to emphasize. There is, in every product, there's always a product area. There's always an existing product which has been developed, quite similar. The product is selling, it has a user interface, it has design, it has a certain field of engineering, it even has methods of selling. Copy it all, don't invent it. Take everything you can learn from your competition or similar product and do it yourself again. The investors won't know every single product in the field. You can get away with it. But this is a wonderful shortcut to actually take it and say, and this is what I do even outside healthcare. I say, this is what my product is. It's similar to this one. Please, designer, this is my direction. But you should copy, in your case, not only the user interface, but even the engineering of it and even the sales methods of it. You should copy it. Don't be scared of copying. And the next point is similar to that, that there's a success and failure analysis. What I mean by this is in your area, you should be aware of products which have succeeded and ones which have failed. Usually investors will quite often know about previous big projects. If you can, in some ways, when you're discussing the slides, explain what has succeeded and what has failed and why, and you understand why, that is very, very convincing. You can say, I'm going to be like this product, which became a $100 million company because I learned from it and it does this and this and this. And that really brings got a lot of confidence to the investor. The last thing is common to many products, but particularly in healthcare, that you need a lot of partnerships in development, testing, and manufacture. All this, you can't do it in a startup. You do need lots of help. And you have to show that you're not somebody who only relies on yourself and your people, but you're able to build relationships and teams doing all these types of things and more. So that's really some tips for you as to what is particularly relevant. How much time do I have left here?
Okay.
A couple of minutes? A minute? A minute or two?
Yeah, 2 minutes.
Just 2 minutes. That's good. So I just want to just go very quickly through the usual stuff. So as I said, there is a difference between an email presentation and a 4-Arbeiten presentation. So the 4 eyes one is more graphic and shorter. Medical products need more explanation. So you do need more slides. And investors in this area do respect that. You're not a 10 slide, usually 10 slides, you can't get your message across. So it's okay if you go further, but don't bore them. Issues of the usual stuff is standard size of market, sales process. I emphasize this, I'm being facetious here, but it's true. You have to look good, look pretty. And it's not expensive to take the slides. I could even suggest to you certain graphics people and make your slides look really very pretty. As usual, first adopted geography is important, team, business model, all this kind of stuff should be included. And just as a kind of technical issue, investors are expecting you to incorporate in the engineering terms and in the interface the latest technology, whether it's Internet of Things, or if you've got sensor technology as part of your product, you have LoRa or NB-IoT, they're looking for that. They want to see machine learning, AI types of features. This is good. And we want to see special materials. These are all buzzwords which are attractive and expected. And if you can incorporate these type of features in your product, then we like that. So that's the end of my presentation. Hamutal, I assume there's no time for questions. I'm happy to take questions, but is there time or not?
Well, we may have time for questions in the end after Helen's.
At the end. Okay. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Waimann, for your motivating demonstration and your important tips that actually reflect how the bio-startup presentations look from the investor's eye. I would like to invite Ms. Helen Gottstein, a public speaking expert, loud and clear training. Ms. Gottstein, please. Please, you're welcome to share.
All right, everyone. Hi, everyone. My name is Helen Gottstein. I am indeed the owner of Loud and Clear Training. And tonight I'm delighted to be speaking with David, who our paths have crossed many times in Jerusalem. He's a well-respected member of the OurCrowd team. I'm the communications trainer for OurCrowd, so our paths also cross there a little bit. And tonight I want to speak with you about some core ideas that are useful for everybody who is pitching. And as you know, it's all about the money. So I will jump straight in and get as practical as David was. These are some of the people that I've been working with of late. I'm going to open with a super practical series of tips about looking better on camera. Chances are today, when you are meeting people, you are meeting virtually. And if you don't look good on camera, then you're already undermining your ability to communicate effectively. As David said so clearly, and it's really wonderful for me personally to have that inside knowledge ratified and strengthened by the way David made the very, very clear case that I usually open with, which is you have to have 2 decks. The one you send in advance, which makes the case for you before you're meeting anybody, and the one you use when you're meeting somebody. When you're meeting somebody today, just like tonight, chances are you're going to be meeting them online. So I'm going to stop my share just for a moment. and open up my screen to see more people. All right, I can't see everyone, but I can see in relation to the people whom I can see right now. I'm going to give you some physical feedback about how to look better on camera. Here we go. Looking at me, you will see that, frankly, ladies and gentlemen, I look fabulous. Why is that? Not just because I personally am simply spectacular, although it doesn't hurt. It's also because I have deliberately set up the framing of my head so that it is not just a head that is on the screen. You will notice I am perhaps the best lit person in this evening's event. I have a lot of light coming onto me. I have a light above me, and I also have a cheap, like a 15 shekel table lamp that I have projected onto the wall behind my desk, and the light is bouncing off. So I get this wonderful diffuse light, the light that is like spread out all over me, and it makes me look energetic, even though it is pitch black outside. That's number one. Number two, how is your body framed on camera? You will see I have made a real effort to make sure that some of my chest is on the camera, is in the camera frame. I am not sitting here and it's this, right? Imagine if I was going to give this whole presentation tonight and what you got of me was my head, or worse, perhaps like this. I've been at presentations where somebody's like presenting like this. Why? Why would you do that? Why would you ever do that? I don't know. Perhaps you don't realize you're on camera. Just like in person, you want to be able to use as many of the lines of your body to communicate warmly and accessibly to the people that you're speaking with. Now, you'll notice that I have an Australian accent. אם אני אומרת משהו שאתה לא מבין או שאת לא מבינה, תרשמו לי בצ'אט, או, תפתחו את המיקרופון ותגידו, מה נסגר, לא מבינים דבר שאת אומרת. Like, just open your mic and let me know, all right? But basically what I'm saying is this: if you are well lit and you have a bunch, as much body as possible in the camera frame, it brings you closer to being in person, right? Too far away and I'm really, really small on your screen. Chaval. You want to be as close to somebody as you can, but still get chest in. Chest is actually really important when you want to communicate with somebody. It allows you to do this. It allows you to say, this is really important to me, people. This comes from the heart. Even one time, this gesture of זה עובד לטובתנו. Okay, that's 2 tips. Here's another one. Do you see there is no space above my head? I don't want you to look at the wall. I don't want you to look at my ceiling. I don't think anybody really needs to see my ceiling, even though it's very nice and white. No one cares. If you are wasting camera space on the wall behind you, bizbuz, chaval. Okay, now let's talk about camera angle. You will notice that my camera is up high. High. This means that I am not doing this. Hi, Liat. I'm really so glad that you've joined us. Hi, Mickey, Lavin Pell. What a pleasure to see you here tonight. Garua, Mavet, Ayom Nora, terrible disaster. Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone, put your camera on top of your laptop and then look up to it. I will say that I have seen so many interviews in the past year of members of Knesset, CEOs, important heads of the health department who are on national television, and they're talking down here to the corner of their screen. No, people, on camera is not the same as in person. We need to disconnect from needing to speak eye to eye and give eye to camera contact if you want to make a powerful impression and give the feeling of eye to eye contact. Do not look down at the bottom of your screen. I don't even care if you're the head of the health department at the moment. Don't do it. And your camera has to be high also, so that we don't look up your nose. I won't say names, but there are a couple of people that tonight we are looking up their noses. Hamal, you may be gorgeous, but up your nostrils is not a good angle for anyone. You will also notice that I am using my hands. This is good. You don't want to be like moving all over the place and, you know, being like crazy, because too many gestures can communicate overexcitement or lack of clarity or a need to compensate for your verbal skills with a great deal of body language. But coming from a Semitic people, like coming from the Middle East, we're pretty good at using our hands. Don't be afraid to bring them up into screen, like up into the camera, into the little yellow camera frame that we each get, because it makes you more animated. And heavens knows, we are all sick to death of being on screen. Jonathan, I'm looking up your nose, mate. I hate to break it to you. Itai and Bion D, your camera frame is pretty good and you've also got a nice background. Costa, I'm going to say to you that lots and lots of people use virtual backgrounds. Personally, I'm not a fan. I'll show you why. Here you are seeing me right now pretty clearly, I hope. Now look what happens when I do this. Here's Helen, here's parts of Helen disappearing into her clever background. It's to prioritize the background over, anything else. Now, I know that many of us want to hide our backgrounds, etc., right? Wait, where's my favorite? Just a minute. This is what's really important. Here are the ladies. I sometimes join this gang as well. But I am clearest and I am also easiest for people who have hearing difficulties to lip read if I have a professional background set up behind me and it's just me without a virtual background. You are more accessible, more real, and bits of you don't like, you know, do the Matrix disappearing act into your background. The ta'ami, for my money, chaval. So that's about light. It's about body language and eye contact. I want to give you one more tip for body language, and that is this. I'm going to move over here so you can see the back of my chair, nearly. All right, forget it. Don't use the back of your chair. If I was going to like deliver this whole session from here, you get a sense that I am too relaxed. I am here to work. I think everybody is here to work. Bring your shoulders forward. Don't sit on like the edge of your seat, which is like all that anxiety that radiates all that anxiety, but bring your shoulders forward so that you're forward, you're up, you're on. It's your show. Power through it. Any questions? Anybody want to open the mic and ask a quick question? Because I've got like 1,000 things to get through. Joe, you don't get to ask a question, dude. No. Lawrence, you're up.
Yes, on TV, everybody has a bookcase behind them full of books, and I find their head just disappears into the bookcase. Do you recommend that or not? You have a bookcase to the side.
Oh, yeah. So one of the things that was really, really clear from the beautiful slides that David showed us was that a really good way to set out the framework of the visuals you're working with is 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. So you'll see that if I put my bookcase exactly in the center, it looks like perhaps it's a fake background now. There's bookcase on one side and fake wall on the other. It's actually, I've got bookcase, Helen, empty space. So I think off center also creates a more pleasing visual that is like just naturally more dynamic. And certainly you are the show. You are the show when you're making a presentation, and you're also the show when you're on camera. So if you see yourself disappearing into your own bookcase, make the effort to move your whole desk, rearrange your office, and get a setup that helps you look professional so that you're experienced as professional. We're going to be on camera for the next year, for the next 2 years, perhaps permanently. Set it up, people. Look good. Thanks for your question, Lawrence. Anybody else?
There is another question from Masha Dobkin. Masha, would you like to ask Helen? It's on the chat.
Ah. Bum, ba-dum, bum, bum. Look at the camera. Okay. Your job is to rely on your knowledge of how people look and behave on camera. So I don't need to look at everybody now to hope at least some of them are still with me, right? I don't need to be like going around the faces and checking. Now, when there's just 2 of you, if it's like a one-on-one, here is my recommendation. Take away the picture of yourself. Remove what is called self-view. And that allows you just to have a huge screen of your partner and take yourself off completely. Firstly, it helps you be less self-conscious because you're not looking at yourself all the time. And because your conversation partner's picture will be enormous on the screen, you can drop your eyes a little bit and look at them. Hope that's helpful. I'm going to go on with the rest of my presentation. If there are any extra questions, feel free to ask me afterwards. But for the moment, Jeffrey, mate, you should put yourself on mute because otherwise the camera goes to you. All right, this is what I was just talking about right now. Let's move on. If I gave you the opportunity to pitch right now, like, hello, David Waimann is on this call with you right now. Hello, OurCrowd. And OurCrowd, as we know, is a company that is no longer just investing in middle-sized and large companies, but is starting to much more explore seed level companies than in the past. And I'll cut to the chase. David Waimann is on the call right now. If you got the opportunity to pitch him, could you do it? Now, I know some of you are in accelerators and may be able to do this like really, really quickly. I want everybody to write your one-line intro in the chat right now, not for yourself, but for what it is your company does. What is the value that it delivers? Take a moment and write into the chat right now. The value my company delivers, the change we want to make in the world. 10, 9, no pressure, 8, 7, 6, don't feel pressure, 5, 4, 3. All right, people, there's so far four comments in the chat. If you are on this call tonight and you are at the head of a startup, if you're the CEO of a startup, you've got to be able to do this. Bang, one line in your sleep, without thought, without having to construct it. Like, so simple and so clear. Literally, if I wake you up and you have to run out of the house and save nothing except your grandmother's cookbook or whatever it is that you're taking, you need to be able to say this as you're running out of the house. And if you haven't yet written it in the chat because you're not sure how to speak about your value, the change you want to make in the world in a single sentence, this is a core fundraising, networking, professional tool for anyone in business. I help people get heard and be worth listening to. That's all I do. I happen to do it through pitches, presentations, and public speaking, but I prefer to describe myself as I get people heard and also make them worth listening to. All right. You've got another minute to throw your one-liner into the chat if you haven't already, but I'm going to drive forward. Everyone here, if you are pitching at all, chances are you are hitting a bunch of these key points. You have to have a key, clear statement of the change you want to make in the world. You have to have a clear sense of why your business is necessary and what will be the benefit if somebody, an institution, a government, a department at a large institution or a large business adopts the product that you offer. You have to be able to show us the product rather than describe it in words. And here I'll push what David said so well a little further and say, you have to make that visual super easy. And I'm going to really push here because here's your job. Your job is not to know, well, I'll walk that back. I assume you know the science. I assume that you understand the sphere in which you say you have expertise. Your job is to translate that into language so simple that if I never did a class of science, I would understand it perfectly. Because if you are speaking to a professional, an investor at whatever level of the industry, your job is to make them feel smart, not show them how smart you are, but to make me, your audience, feel smart. If there's even a word that you use that I don't understand, I may think you're smart, but I don't feel included in the conversation. I will mention a company from OurCrowd because OurCrowd is on the line with us this evening. I currently have done a little bit of work with one of the portfolio companies of OurCrowd, a company called OncoHost. And the CEO off air and I went through a process where I just said to him, I don't understand, don't understand, don't understand, I don't understand. I don't know what you're talking about, I don't understand. In fact, ladies, gentlemen, and everyone, I would offer that my main advantage as a communication consultant is the deep ignorance that I bring of most of the things in which you have expertise. I don't understand them. So your job is to translate what you know into language I understand. And if you fail in that regard, then you will fail to connect with as many investors as you could. I'm not saying you won't get investments. OncoHost is already a multi-million-dollar company, for example. But if you simplify your message and make it jargon-free, then more investors that you're going to meet are going to spend less time trying to understand and more time getting excited about the potential and the product that you have to offer. Okay, there was like a big spiel right now. If you can show me, that's fabulous. Clearly you have to show me what's unique. I'm sure all of you know all of this. These are the core elements in any kind of conversation, in any kind of pitch. These elements have to be in the set of slides that you send in advance and the ones that you present in person. I will say there are a series of really, really marked differences beyond just having a simpler series of slides when you meet in person. You have to create a really, really strong value narrative, demonstrating the value of your product is really, really central. The more you can speak about value, as in money, It's all about the money, people. People are going to invest in you because they want to make money. People want to hear about your product because they want to make money. If you want to show me something really exciting, you better include the word financial gains, income, smart, investment. Build in the term smart investment like a pismon, like a running theme, like the chorus of your presentation. Now that's harder when you're sending the deck in advance, but when you're making a verbal presentation, one of the tools, one of the tips that I want to give you tonight is to literally use the words important. Use the word important. It's like so, it sounds like so banal, but here's the way we're programmed. You say the word important, it makes it be more important for me. Use the words smart investment, and it will encourage me to think of your product as a smart investment. Now, your slides have to make it through due diligence of the companies that you're sending it to. Just like OurCrowd has a team of PhDs or postdoc people who are going to evaluate the science and make sure that what you're proposing is actually, as we say in English, holds water, like, you know, right? It works. But when you meet in person, it's far more interactive, and you may not be meeting with the people who are doing the due diligence. You may be meeting with somebody who's seen others who've invested with you and also wants to hear the story. Using the term smart investment helps you build a value narrative that can help you make a presentation that builds towards business success. And to do this effectively, ladies, gentlemen, everyone, you need to practice whatever you say out loud. Out loud. If you take nothing else from tonight, take this. You do not get good at public speaking by reading your presentation to yourself. What you get good at by reading your presentation to yourself is you get really, really good at reading. Oh, I read that so beautifully. It doesn't help you to present it effectively. The only thing that helps you present effectively is practicing out loud. Now, you can present to your goldfish. I am really tired of my dog. I will give you my dog and you can present to my dog if you don't have one of your own. Present to your neighbors, present to your partner, present to people, random people on the bus. It doesn't matter. What has to happen when you make the presentation is you have to own it, you have to know where you're going, and you have to be able to deliver from Aleph, Ad, Taf. And when you meet in person, you have to, well, I highly recommend that you build in there the next step. Would it be okay if I sent you our update? Can I touch base with you in a month? Can I let you know if I have training, if I have a training course opening in your city? Can I let you know? You ask for permission, and what do they care if you send them your update? Can I let you know? People, this is part of just simple, good practice. Never finish a meeting with an important potential partner, potential investor, potential client without closing the next step. As one of the managing partners at OurCrowd says, Dennis Ban at OurCrowd says, never be closing, always be closing. Your job is to build relationships with people. And if you don't have a next step built in, you can't build a relationship. Some companies, some venture capital companies take a year, 2 years, 3 years to establish whether or not they would like to work with you, if they would like to invest in you. If you haven't made the effort of establishing a relationship with them so that you ping them, like with your update every 2 months, every 6 months, then it's going to be like out of the blue when you contact them again, right? Build it in. And if they want to invest earlier, Martov, fabulous. Okay. That's practice out loud. It's what helps you deliver effectively. Never meet somebody without doing your homework. And today that means especially if you're meeting with somebody from the American arena, that you have to have looked up their giving history, which is freely available online. It's available in something called the FEC report. You have to know where their loyalties lie. Are they more Democrat? Are they more Republican? Or are they actually one of the rare bipartisan breed that exists today? Because that will impact the kind of language that you use. Does it swing more traditional, solid, the kind of languages that bank use, traditional, solid, reliable, consistent, proven concept? Or does it swing more like a little bit more adventurous, renew, break, disrupt, create, turn around, breaking new ground. I can't think of all the words off the top of my head, but like break and destroy to create new, or more like hold, proven, track record kind of language. And part of that will be given to you from looking up somebody's giving history. And for Americans, clearly available. Of course, you're going to look up how that company, how that investment firm, how that individual is investing at the moment. So you see, if they're already investing in a company really, really like yours, chances are they're not going to invest with you, right? You want to look up companies that are investing in the biomed sphere, but you don't want to look up somebody. It was a gentleman called Paul shared earlier that he has an approach that helps to reduce the cost of anesthesiologists in hospitals by 50%. You don't want to spend your time pitching to a company that's already invested in that exact niche. Halal, because they ain't going to invest with you. They'd be like investing in their own competition. No. When you meet with somebody, you want to be warm, you want to be friendly, you want to show you've done your homework. And if they share with you something, you have to make it really, really clear that you are interested. Whoever you are, if you could be on mute, I have like another couple of minutes that I'm going to take. I also want to say this. Do not read from your presentation. Do not. Right now, there are some people who are trying to read this screen, and that is a real problem for whoever is making a presentation. I have right now literally created visual noise. I have created my own competition in my own presentation. This is deadly. As soon as I write anything here, etc., the eyes of the audience are drawn to it. Do not show me anything that looks like this. You don't deserve to be invested in. Don't show me anything that looks like this. You don't deserve my money. Don't show me anything that looks like this. There's no process. It's all organized around a hub. There's too much information. These are my core recommendations I'm going to skip down here, for making clear slides. My recommendations are to have between 10, maybe 15 words on a slide. If you're presenting in public, if you're on a stage in front of a group, you want your font to be between 28 and 50. On camera, if you're presenting on Zoom, you can be at 20, like font size 20, because your audience is so much closer to your screen. Do not use slides that bounce in, erupt up, explode into the middle of the screen, or have your text like do that spinning thing and appear in the middle of the screen, clearly created by somebody using psychedelic materials. Let your visuals be strong and clear. And like David showed you in the beautiful visuals that he showed us earlier, use your branding colors to create consistent, beautiful formatting throughout, if you can. You want to be really, really sure and really, really clear what your close is. And as we say, this is my God picture. God is in the follow-up. You need to know how you are going to follow up with this client, with this investor, with this potential partner at the beginning of the conversation. You need to know what are the 3 next possible ways you can follow up with them. You need to know, just like tonight when I present, I know that I'm going to put up this screen, which is if you're interested in putting yourself forward as a stronger candidate in your pitches, presentations, and public speaking, I'd be happy to help. I'm going to open the floor to questions now. If you have a question for me or David Waimann, who's still on the line with us, have your questions ready. I'll be opening the mics now. These are my details. Take a screenshot so you can catch me later.
Thank you, Helen. So, question. I think they were.
In the pitch canvas, there was twice business model, bullet number 6 and bullet number 8. Is this deliberate?
No, maybe it's a typo on my part. Maybe I just really wanted to tell you that today it's all about the money. But no, it's a typo on my mistake. It's a typo on my behalf. I would also say that I would hate that to be the thing that you take away from this session tonight. I will, however, add this, Jonathan. According to a company called Upkeep, at least venture capital companies and executives with whom they are speaking, companies today are spending 51% more time just looking at the business model, especially for Israeli companies. If you're investing overseas, they haven't heard of your business experience. They don't know the companies that you've worked in the past. You may have been the head of, of the JLM, of the Israeli army, of the Israeli Navy. It doesn't translate into a foreign language. There's a cultural divide. So it can all come down to the power of the business model. So I'm going to actually echo something that David said that really, really resonated with me, which was get endorsements. As soon as you can get an endorsement from somebody who will translate in the cultural landscape that you are presenting to, because Israeli qualifications don't always translate. Like, they may not have even heard of the Technion, one of the top world's top universities. Endorsements. David, I loved that tip. Thank you so much. Any other questions?
Helen, I loved your presentation, and actually, you can see from my screen background, I'm copying you. I think it's marvelous. Can I open one issue and really open it up to the public? And that is, there are quite a lot of situations where healthcare startups actually are sitting opposite very, very experienced healthcare professionals. So in OurCrowd, for instance, you're sitting opposite Amori Blumenthal and Morris Laster, who know their healthcare staff. So there is an issue here of if you simplify the language too much, then they're just not interested. And I think there's going to be a lot of quite smart tech people in the Israeli environment for a very technical kind of startup. So I think there are situations where you can get very technical even in your first presentation if the audience is right. Do people sympathize with that comment?
Isn't that part of the research, so you know who you're talking to?
Yeah, the homework that Helen was talking about.
Know your audience.
Yes, I do feel that you have to know your audience, but I think a high percentage of all the presentations in this country, personally, I think you should be prepared to switch language from the layman's language is very important, that ability to do that, and then go to the next class, go straight from high school to to postgrad university and really talk the talk. It's quite, and make that language clear to the people that they're using the similes from within the industry so that they can understand it quickly and easily. That's quite a trick.
I'm going to jump in because now everybody, what you have is an argument between two professionals about what you should do. It was absolutely perfect. I will say that I think it's not the difference between high school and postdoc. I think it's knowing your audience. I've seen people make excellent presentations on television where they explain, their startup in the sphere of growing organs that can be transplanted, in growing organs from animals that can be used in the human body to create additional organs available for the massive need that we have today for organ transplant. And the visuals and the language were absolutely on point. It's not high school, it's accessible. You have to be able to speak the language of due diligence, 100%. If you go on national television, you have to be able to speak the language of national television. So I have resistance to high school. I'll put it down for accessibility.
Thank
I have
you.
a question, Helen. I was just wondering, what did you see as the biggest obstacle?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Can you shout? I'd like to be shouted at least once a
Sure,
day.
I'm happy to shout at you. Can you hear me now?
Kind of poorly, but I'll try.
I'm sorry, I'm actually not at my usual computer terminal. But as an Australian, a fellow Australian, what did you encounter as the biggest challenges transitioning from Australia to Israel in a cultural engagement space in this arena?
So that's lovely to be asked that. I'll be happy to speak with you about cultural differences like after this time is up, but I want to see if we could focus, if people have questions about pitches, their pitch. They want somebody here wants to share their screen. Somebody wants to run by me an idea. Something changed for you during this call tonight from the excellent material that David shared or that I shared this evening. Because in a moment we're going to be wrapping up. And this is an opportunity to speak truly with an industry expert like David Waimann and tag along like myself.
Several people have given their one sentence pitches. Could you go over that and give your comments about it? Which ones are good and which ones are not good in the chat?
Eliakim, I really, really like stress-free dental implant surgery. Shoo ha, wow, wow, wow. That's just beautiful. 5 words. Damn, beautiful work. Costa, my response to yours that I'm looking at right now, and if anybody has a question, like you should feel free to jump in, but just like doing what Joe has asked me to do right now, and David, you should jump in too if you want. Costa, it is not clear to me, like what's the immediate benefit? Like powerful optic diagnosis, does it mean that I can get cheap glass? I'm like, I don't know what that would do for me. It means that I can learn if I need surgery. I just don't know what it does. Stress-free dental implant, I know exactly what to expect. Okay, thanks, Sharon.
About these, there are some that actually use some technical words to say what they're doing, but there's one that's from Itai, which is like a very philosophical one of solving human problems with the power of nature and biology. Like I have no idea what that means because it could mean 1,000 different things. Like sometimes people give a pitch that's very, very general like that. What do you think about that?
Well, it's like so interesting because what actually happened for me right now is that because I was engaged in reading somebody else's chat, somebody else's comment. I actually found it difficult to hear what you were saying. So right now, I'm going to just respond to Jacob Rendell's, and then I'm going to go back up and look at the one that you just talked about. Jacob, I think that yours is terrific. Novel antibiotics, we all know, everybody knows antibiotics are becoming increasingly ineffective, in part because of their massive overuse with animals. Cheryl, can you tell me again which one I should look for?
Sorry, if you go down to 835, Itai Varkovitsky, the two down from what you were just reading.
Oh, brilliant, got it. It was so helpful for me that you said the time. Solving human problems, yeah, I've got no idea. Itai, I may want to marry you. I won't tell Jonathan yet, but I don't know. I don't know what you do.
But you see sometimes really big companies though, really big companies, not small startups that are trying to prove themselves. Maybe they're more established in the field and they can allow themselves to make these big philosophical general comments because everybody knows what they do already.
Yes,
kind of thing.
I completely agree. Itai, if you have a budget that equals Coca-Cola, Nike, Adidas, and Pepsi, then this is fabulous. Otherwise, I don't know what you do. We are going to finish in just a moment. I want to ask if you could please write into the chat right now one thing that you are taking away from this evening's lecture. Write in the chat one practical tip that you are taking away. In the meantime, I'm going to keep looking in the chat. Before you hop off the line, please write in the chat one thing that you are taking from this evening's conversation. Costa, I'm going to say, I still don't know what you do. Optical biodiagnostic device sounds really delicious. I still don't know what you do. You want to describe the benefit of your product in terms of how it impacts people. How's it going to be good for me? Stress-free dental implants? I still got it, and I'm not even reading it. I don't know how this thing helps me. Here's Helen. I'm 50 plus. I have some of my own teeth. I wear glasses because I've become, is it short-sighted, long-sighted? One of the two recently. Perhaps your technology is exactly what I need. I don't know how you help me. One thing that you write, one thing you're taking from this evening's chat, write it in the chat. I'm going to save the chat myself. And if you want me to be in contact with you about your one-liner or anything else, you can also pop your email in the chat now and I'll follow up. We can have a 15-minute free consult if you'd like about anything that you want. Does the wall behind, I lost something about the wall.
Okay.
All right, we are at time. If you'd like me to be in touch with you, pop your email into